Hello everyone, this is Star Zenith 33 Laura Francesca here at Podbean, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, iHeartRadio, YouTube, and other platforms. I was trying to remember all the platforms because there's a lot of them, but I do want to shout out to all of those platforms where you can hear me. So here we are. Okay, we are going to be talking about the Libra Full Moon. I've been planning for this podcast. Unfortunately, distractions have come about and timing was not the best. So I am here. So we're going to be just talking a little bit about, or maybe a lot. I give you guys a full hour of any downloads that are, I welcome any downloads that are coming in as well from other realms. Okay, they're my angels and God and also advisors. Okay, I do tend to attract a lot of people with a lot of money that have passed on to the other side that are guiding me in this world. So let's jump in there. Okay, so right now what's going on with the Libra full moon, a lot of people maybe have been going through a lot of releasing. I'm pretty sure because it's, where this full moon started, it was in the 12 degrees. Okay. So 12 degrees is the degree of endings. Okay. Of letting go. And so it's the degree of Pisces. So when you think about Pisces, it's kind of, it reminds me of like a Pisces being in a hospital, and just giving up on life, of just going with the flow, right? And going through pain or going through tears or anything like that. But the goal is not to let go. When it comes to, let me drink some drinks here. In the hospital, you're fighting for your life, right? And so that's the frequency of a Pisces. And the Aries is more about, it is about fighting. And the 12 degree is about letting go. Okay, it's that frequency of Pisces, of just going with the flow and just letting it go. It is what it is, right? It's not about fighting this energy. But the reason I said the example of a Pisces being in the hospital is because normally that's the frequency of just letting go. And, not really fighting for it, So we're either releasing, okay, or just letting go, or we're either trying to fight for this energy, but understand that whatever you're fighting, and if it has not panned out, if it's not worked out, there's no point in fighting for this anymore. Okay, you just have to let it go. And it's for your own good, because you're going to elevate, you're going to do great things, if you put the work in, right? The goal is that the easy thing was not really so easy for some people, but it is about literally just, letting go of what no longer served you. Okay. And so let's talk about the Saibin symbol. The Saibin symbol here for Libra 12 is a secret freed in the heart. Okay. So what it's talking about here is it's about a miners that are emerging from a mine. Okay, so this is a symbol of the irresistible curiosity and indomitable self-confidence, which represents the real strength of personality, and which in everyday affairs are sometimes the sole manifestation of an individual's broader potentials. There is here all his transient involvement in hampering and unattractive phases of experience, but there is also a persistent doggedness of effort, which has the ultimate fruits in a better world and in happier relationships among men. The key word here is escape. When positive, the degree of inexhaustible resource of self with the consequence uncompromising strength of character. And when negative, complete inability to develop personal potentials or rise above dual, what is it? Let me put my glasses because I'm reading it from far. Non-entity. So it says a secret freed in the heart. Okay. And also the closure here is that we like to have closure of things. Okay. It brings us back to a place of peace, doesn't it? Every time we close something up, it brings us peace. But what happens when there isn't that opportunity? Many things in life happen where there isn't always closure as we like. We are left with the space that won't close up, a hole or a gap, and we feel somewhat broken or torn. And so we are sufficient unto ourselves because we have God. Shouldn't we able to fill that gap by ourselves without the need of outside help? Lots of things to think about when it comes to closure. So it is about filling the space in the heart, and this reminds me of, when you don't have God in your life, when you're not Christian. And they say that our heart is like a black hole, okay? That it has no feelings, it has no accountability, right? And it just doesn't feel, it's just black, right? But when you have God in your life, then all of a sudden, you feel things. All of a sudden, you want to do right, right? And I forgot what the word is. It's I think it's like when you get a guilt. This is what happens to Christians when they do bad and they do rotten things, or we're all human, right? No judgment. But if you're Christian and you do something really horrible, and all of a sudden your heart starts to break and you start having problems or issues with the heart, or a conviction, that's what it is. That's the word. That's a Christian word. I've always heard that in church about having conviction, the Christian conviction. That is the worst you can have, right? Because you want to do right and you did something wrong, and it's like, oh man, especially like everything that's going on with churches, pedophilers and abuse and everything. And what happens to these pastors? They can't take it. This conviction has came upon their heart. And so they have to quit, right? They have to retire. They just can't deal with it. They got to go to therapy now. A lot of you notice the patterns of these pastors that are creating like groups, within their church. And they're trying to help other reform, maybe Christians that have been convicted, that have done a lot of bad things. Is because, they also did it, and they're trying to, give them therapy in some kind of way, which gives them therapy, right? But if you notice a lot of these either pastors or just leaders, in the Christian faith church, that are creating this culture of like, come here and you'll get healed and we'll all heal together. And, a lot of those have conviction in their heart. And so they have to create these type of therapy cultures, and so forth. And so the heart is broken. The heart is empty. It doesn't matter if you got baptized. It doesn't matter if you're a pastor. If you have conviction in your heart, it's going to break your heart. And it's going to ask you, what are you doing about this conviction that you have in you? Right? So, so as I'm reading here, so it talks about closure, having to close something out so you can have peace of mind in your heart. Another thing is talking about this disclosure here, where there's these two people that it looks like they're talking, because this is something about a pentagram, okay, that gives you pain. And then they're talking about, then it says, tell me, you, son of hell, if that's the case, how did you gain entry? Are spirits like you cheated? So this could be the dark hole that they're in. And it says, look carefully. It's not completed. One angle, if you inspect it closely, has, as you see, been left a little open. So is this diagram about this Libra 12? It's a diagram. It looks like a pentacle type of geographic geometry pentacle, right? And so every angle has a different frequency. And it says, have you ever kept a secret? Was it out of respect? Was it shared in confidence? Would the sharing of it be a breach of your honor? Is the not sharing of it mandated by a non-disclosure agreement? Does this non-disclosure create a gap or fill a gap in your heart? What is let in by it, or what may escape through it? So the full disclosure here is, as with all human beings, there is something in you, a space, so to speak, but nothing and no one will ever manage to fill it. Only God. In this space, many outside ideas and thoughts will try to gain entrance. The television, okay? The influence. As a matter of fact, today's word that I pulled out, because I like to pull words every day from my word deck, it was influence and then alignment, okay? So it is asking us to align ourselves over, the alignment to create this new lifestyle, this new idea, this new business, this new relationship, anything like that. Okay. And it says here, they, however, will never be sufficient in your requirements. There will always be some room left, and you will innately know that something is lacking, that there is yet a void. Only God, within the divinity which you yourself already are, being boundless and infinite, can fill this void. When you have touched the source within your own divine being, you will know the joy that passeth understanding. Okay? So, and then it says here, a secret freed in the heart. So these are just what I'm reading here is the Sabian symbol. These are conversations that they're having. The author notes here, it says these are personal insights into reflections and discoveries within the Sabian symbol, and that have been studied for many years. These are just interpretations and reflection on the symbolism of each degree. And for Libra 12, Libra is about justice. It's about balance. It is about judgment as well. It rules attorneys and courts and all of that, and beauty as well, and aesthetics and so forth. And the 12 degree, it is about releasing, okay, about letting go. And having to let go of anything that's not beautiful in your mind. It is about being your own kind of beautiful. It's not about perfection, but what is beautiful for you, right? what is beautiful for you, um, and and that's what it's about. And so, it is about having different perspectives. A lot of people are going through it in different ways. This is why you have to know your chart. Because for me personally, it's in the sixth house, so this has to do with my environment. This has to do with like shopping. Yesterday I went like shopping, not a lot. Just I like to window shop. I like to go in stores and just kind of look at things that I might need, my necessities and stuff like that. And new clothes. Who doesn't need brand new clothes, right? And I'll always try to buy me at least like a pant or a couple of tops or something like that. That's might be on sale or something. Um, and I mean, not go overboard, because my normal spending that I do is my business. Okay, like yeah, literally my business too. But I mostly invest in things that I need to invest that has to do with business, right? And I hardly spend clothes. I do have a full closet full of clothes, but the thing to me is like I don't really go out, you know? So I just feel sometimes, the clothes might go out of style. I try to buy clothes that will never go out of style, like scarves that they elevate you, hats and stuff like that, jackets and things like that. You can never go wrong with, tank tops. That's always going to level you in any kind of way. I love tank tops, I'm always wearing them. And you could just put jewelry on top of it or just like, it's just basic, very simple clothing. I don't really buy clothing that's going to go out of style right away. And so I don't know. I have a full closet. I don't really need to buy more clothes, but and then I think about it, like it's not like I go out anyway, right? I don't go partying or nothing like that. If there's an event happening in my community, which there has not been, because they've been doing a lot of construction, here in our town. And they should finish the construction this year and all the way through 2028, where they're planning on having restaurants and others. And I'm sure, if I still live in this town, I would be going there, and, dressing up and so forth. But if, why buy clothes if you're not going to go nowhere? That's what and then plus I'm losing weight right now. So a lot of the clothes that I already have in my closet, I'm going to give it away anyway, to charity, because it's not fitting anymore. And so, but I will keep a couple of items on there. But I am losing weight right now and very proud of it. And I'm just trying, it's just helping me to know it's not GLP or not, none of those shots or nothing like that. It's actually a juice. I'm actually drinking it right now. And I love it because it tastes so delicious. If I could, I would take two of those drinks like every day, but I can't. It gives me a lot of energy, confidence, and it's good for your neural brain, okay, for that as well, and have good thoughts and so forth. And just be positive, right? Because we all need to be positive. So for me personally, with the 12 degree, it's about it is. I mean, like I said, if I had the money, I would move out of this town. You know, I think I over expired. Also, that is a word that I heard today when I woke up. Expired, something expired. And I do feel that it has to do with the environment where I live, and I'm an honest person. I'm not gonna bullshit about where I live or nothing like that. And I had talked about, I think I podcast about it, about a recent argument that happened in our block in our town here. Well, not the whole town, but here just where I live in our block in our community. And um there was this argument and so forth, and it was just really like rare because I've never seen anything like that. We all get along, all of the neighbors. All of a sudden, everybody's fighting. And I'm just like, what the heck? But with words, cutting words. And I knew it was aligned with the astrology of what was going on. I think it was like Pluto. There was, I don't know, I think it was Moon Square Pluto or something with Pluto. But there was a lot of arguments, and I was just like, oh my God, I can't believe this is going on. and I was filming from the top of my balcony, and I couldn't really see them, but I'm glad they got it sorted out, And so I just said, "What's this disruption? Why are you over parking space? Give me a break." I said, "No, it has to be something else. Somebody, I don't know. Especially in this town, in this block here, there's been a lot of darkness, And days before it, you know, I walked, I went outside and did a little walk, and um, I seen like a mouse. I didn't mention to nobody, but I seen like a little. It was a small mouse, but it just crawled like from one house to the other, like right outside, like near the bushes. And I was like, "Oh my God." And then you gotta think about this town. It's a rat in Chinese astrology. The town where I live, it's a rat, and that's not good. Okay, so rat, mouses, same thing, right? And so it's a rat, and it's the enemy of the horse. This is the year of the horse, right? A fire horse. And rats, they try to get away. They do things for money, and they try to get away, and they do tricks and who knows what else they do, and so they're always after the cheese and stuff. And it was interesting that I seen the mouse, and I was like, interesting, and but that was it. It was a tiny mouse though, and it was crossing right in the middle of the street. And yesterday, I happened to see another big rat. Okay, this was not a mouse. This was a rat. This looked like, I thought it was a cat. And when I seen it smashed in the middle of the street, I was like, oh my God. And it was right where they were arguing. Okay. And somebody ran over that. Is gross. Okay. And hopefully they pick it up, or they call the people that need to pick up like these animals that are just, there. And so it's I took a picture, and I was like, ew, gross, and that was an ending right on the full moon. Okay, so that was an ending of like these rat energies, of tricksters, or trying to get away with this, trying to get away with that. And so that for me was a sign. Okay, in my environment, my sixth house of something is over, you know and so I went to go buy what I had to buy, and I had to go buy my pet food as well, and stuff like that. So I wanted to get out of the house on a full moon, and just see what I notice around my environment, because the sixth house is the local environment. It rules shopping as well, and just wanted to see what the frequency was. And it was not so bad, nothing really like, crazy, as it was coming together with my Pluto. Okay, something ending, um, and the moon as well. Okay, it was conjuncting the moon and Pluto. So, it's interesting that the most thing that I could say was that rat that I seen. That was the most impactful for me, that I would say. It just told me something ended. Um, so it could be because my town is a rat. It could be that ended as well. Like, you're gonna move, or there's finally gonna be some kind of move. And I'm just giving it to God, because there's nothing I can do, because it takes money to get out. And it takes money to escape, just like the Siberian symbol of 12. It is about escaping. And I seen another example of a Siberian symbol 12, where it talked about miners that were in a dark hole, and they were the goal is to get out of that dark mining hole and go up and see where the light is. Okay, to be in the light. Okay, we're not doing dark stuff anymore. It's over. Okay, a lot of people are getting out of that dark hole. It's your dark shadow. It is where you don't want to be seen, you don't want to be heard. You're afraid of the light. Are we talking vampires here? Maybe. It's just those that are always in the dark, always, just, dark situation, macabre stuff. And, this is why Aquarius and Pluto square Scorpio, because a lot of that Scorpio energy is very dark. It's not, I'm not saying every Scorpio's dark. Okay, I'm not saying that. There are some professional Scorpios. But you know, there is this affinity with the macabre, with the whole vampirism, with um, being in dark rooms and stuff like that. And they just love the dark, you know. And, Jupiter in I mean, Jupiter, Pluto in Aquarius, which Pluto is still considered dark, but it's also transformation. And when you have a sign like Aquarius in Pluto, which rules the light, which rules the stars, life is going to get brighter. It's not going to get darker. Okay. It's going to get brighter. It's going to shine more. Okay. Aquarius rules the stars. It rules astrology. Anything that has to do with it could be this obsession over astrology. Okay. Because it's just so accurate, right? Or anything where it's very spiritual. It also rules miracles. Okay. So it rules the light and technology. So it rules bright lights. And this is why it doesn't do well with Scorpio, because Scorpio's dark, you know. And so it's telling Scorpio, get out of the dark, Scorpio. Come to the light, you know. Also, I do have to say that I don't know the way I said it right now, it kind of reminds me of somebody passing on and then going to the light, because that's normally what happens, is going to happen to all of us, right? We're going to pass on and we're going to go on to the galaxy where the light is, and we get to go home, right? Whenever it's our time. And so it is about that. So with this Sibin symbol 12, it's about miners that are in a dark hole and they're coming up, they're being raised up. Okay, they're escaping that dark hole. The dark hole can be anything. It could be even your own heart, the way this have been explained it. Maybe you have a dark hole in you, right? That doesn't let you be happy, doesn't let you have joy. Something that just keeps you stuck, and you can't get out. That could be your dark hole. A dark hole could be the community you live in. That kind of seems like, when am I going to get out, And you can only do so much. You got to give it to God. That's what I'm doing. I already over and done. There's no reason for me to remain here, living in this town, and especially when it's not supported. You know what I mean? It's not support, even in the poor town. Even in the poor town, if I like overdress, they look at me weird, like I'm just like some weird girl, that is some rich weird girl, or she lives over here, why is she dressing up so fancy, kind of stuff like that. They don't say that to me, but they talk. I know they do. And if you go to the better side, where all the waterfront is, and all of that, um there are some friendly people, but um I don't know. It just, I'm hearing they think you're stuck up. Oh God. I'm pretty sure they do, but you know what? I have standards, you know? I mean, it is what it is. I have standards. You guys don't, you know? And I'm not stuck up. Okay? I think I'm a very friendly person, and I'm kind, and I'm compassionate. If not, I would not be doing these podcasts, okay? And especially when I was in Swell, because I was doing it for free. And I did it for 2 or 3 years, and I know that I helped the community because they follow me. But not only that, I mean, I helped Mexico. I helped other countries. Like, I did impact, okay, in my other podcasts. That was for free. And I only did it to see if I can gain numbers, and I did. I did. I was more known for being that podcaster and so forth, and it went out of business, but it's okay. I get to do a restart, and I do feel big things here with Podbean. I do. It's gonna take time though. It's gonna take a while. Hopefully not too much, but um, as long as I consistently do it every day, I think it's gonna be a great thing. Um, Another thing too here, of what we're looking at with the Libra 12, is that here in the West Coast, okay, it commenced in the 12th house, okay? So the 12th house is the house of loss. It's the house of completion. Okay, so we completed. Okay, we completed something in our lives. It's going to be different for everybody, right? And so for me, it's the sixth house, it's the environment. It could be also because it also rules health, big on health. Okay, the sixth house is the house that represents Virgo. So it has to do with health and wellness. Maybe you were going through some kind of sickness and you're not going to be sick anymore. And I've been seeing, I pull my own cards. So I do see there where I don't see any more of that. Um, of That's the past, which I might be a little bit more healthier now. I eat more healthy and so forth. Sometimes I will smoke here and there. I'm going to be honest. But usually, I do eat healthy. I eat fruits, vegetables. I'm doing a lot of salads and so forth. And I'm not, Libra has to do also about being balanced and your body being balanced and eating healthy. Okay. Nutrition and so forth. And so for me, the sixth house also rules a health issue. So there's something that you confront a health issue and it completes. Okay. Um, but in the 12th house is I confront is a motto, and it represents anywhere where you were suffering, where there was sorrow, handicapped, worries. Okay. Our self-accepted limitations. That's big. Okay. It's how we limit ourselves of we can't do that, or we can't do that, or that's impossible, or this, and say, no, it is possible. Think of a way, strategize. Okay. Go around the situation. What can you do? Can you wake up more early and do more things? And I'm a podcaster, so I don't have to podcast here at home. Okay, I could podcast outside as well. I love doing that, as a matter of fact, like going out in nature and just podcasting. But since I'm podcasting with the chart and stuff, it's kind of a little bit difficult for me to talk about the astro weather unless I have it like on my notes or something like that. And I kind of, refresh and see what the transits are happening at this moment. And then do a podcast based on that while I'm out in nature, right? But yeah, so those are some of the things. Why am I hearing Richie Sambora? Who's that? Wow, that just came through. Richie Sambora. I think was he the one that married Heather Locklear or something? I don't know. I think he's in a band, right? I don't know. Anyway, that name just came, Richie Sambora. As a matter of fact, it's really bugging me. So let me see. Who is he? Who is he? Sambora. Okay. Um. Oh. Okay. Yeah, he was married. Yeah, he was married to Heather Locklear. Why are Bon Jovi and Richie fighting? Okay. Wow. So they're fighting. Okay. I don't really care. Oh, so he was in he worked with Bon Jovi, I guess. Um, I don't know. I don't know what's going on with him, but whatever. Celebrities. So, I think he's a Leo. I think it said July something. He was born something. I don't know. Anyway, so it's interesting. So the 12th house also rules with hospitals and asylums. Okay, rules a crazy house. Okay, so do protect your head and what you hear, and not get influenced by the television. Not get influenced. Like, I can't tell you when was the last time I looked at television, because I don't like to get influenced. Okay, but my father, he is like he gets influenced all the time, and I told him stop watching TV, but that's his only entertainment. Older people, their only entertainment is television. It's sad, but it really is. And you know, I I'm just tired of just telling him, like, he needs to understand frequency because he doesn't understand it. And a lot of us get trapped in these portals because we don't understand it, you know. We get trapped in these holes, these dark holes. We didn't understand the situation. We didn't understand that we opened ourselves to that portal just based maybe on stubbornness, maybe not being open-minded and thinking you know more, and all of a sudden you're trapped in that hole. Well, now you're in a hole, and now you got to get out of that hole, right? And that's what happens when you don't have an open mind, when you're too stubborn. And everybody goes through their dark shadow. I've been in a dark hole. I've even had dreams and nightmares many years ago, several years ago, when I was going through my dark shadow. And I did have a dream that I was in a hole. Okay. But I also, within that dream, I also dreamt that I got out of that hole. Okay. I escaped that hole. I don't know how I ended up in that hole, but it was a very dark hole. I actually seen the dirt and everything. It was a big old hole. And when I woke up from that dream, I climbed out like a Capricorn. Okay, so it had to do something to do with my Mars in Capricorn when it was transiting with Pluto in Capricorn, Pluto, the dark hole. And at that time I had in the 11th house that had to do with circles and groups and haters and enemies and all of that. So I know somebody put me in that dark hole, whatever. They probably thought I was not going to get out of there in my dream. They didn't think I was going to get out. And they didn't put a lid on it. They left it open. So they're so dumb for doing that, At least put a lid if you want to get rid of me. So anyway, you could tell they were dummies. And so they didn't cover the hole or nothing. They left it open. They figured I was not going to get out, And so I don't know what happened that I got so angry in my dream. And I carved my fingers. I didn't have nails or nothing like that. Well, my regular fingers, without nails. And I carved them in the dirt of where the hole was, right? And I don't know how I did it, but I was able to lift my body as I carved my fingers in the dirt to lift me up like a goat. Okay. And I was able to lift my body up, and I did it really fast. And I was so angry. I've never been angry in my life like that. So I knew it was Mars. And because the anger that I had, so much anger, like, who put me in here? I didn't even have time to think. I was like, screw the thinking. You just got to do it. You just got to get out of here, right? And so I put the fingers in the dirt. I lifted my body up and I climbed out like a goat. Like the goat, okay? That I literally climbed out. And then when I woke up, I was like, oh my God, I was a goat, I was a goat. I actually climbed out. And when I got out, I was able to see flowers. I was able to see the sky. I was able to breathe. I was able to smell, and, smell the air and all of that. And so when I climbed out, I was like, oh my gosh. And then I realized how we take for granted, smell, the nature. And that's when I realized how we take it so for granted, because when you're trapped in a hole and then you get out and you breathe life into nature, into the air, it's like a miracle. It's something that is so beautiful. And so that's what happened to me in my dream, that I got out of the hole. And I was so happy, and then I ran so fast so they won't see me. So when I climbed out of the hole, I ran like a marathoner, and I ran so fast, and nobody knew. Obviously they found out later that I wasn't in the hole no more. It kind of reminds me of Jesus Christ, right? When they put him there in the cave and they roll out the rock and he's not there no more. So I think it was something similar to that, where it's like, where did you go? I didn't see the other part in my dream, but obviously they must have found out that I escaped the hole. And I was like, dummies, you guys should have put a lid on it. You guys are so dumb. I was working with dummies, and God had revealed to me that you're going to be working with dummies. Okay. not working with dummies, but you're going to be opposed by dummies. Okay. So the people that oppose you, the people that envy you, the people that have tried to damage you, the people that have tried to unalive you, they're all dummies. All of them are dummies. You're much more smarter than they are. This is why I brought you to them. That's why I brought them to you, because I know that you can beat them. I know that you can overcome them, whatever it is. I know who my daughter is, you know, and you're much more smarter, much more intelligent, and you're going to outbeat them every time. So they might as well just quit. They might as well just give up, because they were chosen to be dummies for a reason. So anyway, and God did reveal that to me, not during that dream. Actually, this was recently, I would say maybe about a year ago, that God told me, you're dealing with dummies. Okay. And just know that. And so that gives me hope. So when they try to attack me or whatever, I'm just like, dummies, you know. So anyway, now that I shared a couple of stories there, some storytelling, because that's what my podcast is. It's not just, you know, transits and what's going on. It's also, it's just an example, so that you will know what you need to release. Okay. And it's just so interesting that this moon, in Libra at 12 degrees, I don't know why. And for me, it's like, I've been attacked a lot from females. Okay. Females like lesbians. Okay. Lesbians in Hollywood, or just lesbians in particular, just anywhere. Like, they've always, I don't know this. I'm not lesbian. I will never be lesbian. Okay. I'm straight. I love men. But because of this rejection of rejecting them, or this is why I didn't become an actress, because, to be in Hollywood, you got to be a lesbian. And I just said, no, I'm going to be who God made me to be, and that's that. But look at what's happening, the karma that's happening with them, that they're unclean. A lot of them are vampires. But a lot of them have STDs. And I'm glad that I didn't go into Hollywood. I'm glad that God shut the door and said, you'll understand why. Okay. And I'm glad I'm not part of that circle. Hallelujah. So it could be also this ending with them as well, or like witchcraft, or because, the 12th house is the occult, is secret society, secret things that you do behind the scenes. And when it comes to females with Libra, like all of that is gone. Like, we're not doing that anymore. It's being exposed with Jupiter. But I do want to say this transit here that I see between the moon and the part of fortune in Aries. Okay. That's where, and it's actually at 12 degrees as well. And they're doing an exact opposition. So we got the moon in Libra, what we're letting go at 12 degrees. And then we have the part of fortune in Aries. That's where the fortune is at 12 degrees. So in Aries, it has to do with action, leadership, trailblazing, being independent, but also working with other people, but not being codependent. Libra energy has this codependency. Like, I can't go to the store by myself. I can't eat by myself. I got to have my friends with me, Like, no, who does that? Who eats by themselves in a restaurant? I do. Right? So I do, no shame on me. I will go to a restaurant and I will sit there. And I think there's this peacefulness with that, that you get to, eat yourself like a soup, or whatever food you want to eat, and you could just sit there and just eat in peace, and I like being around friends. I've always had friends, it's just lately I think what happens when God separates you because you're on a mission, you can't be around a lot of people. And that's why isolation happens, because God isolates you for a reason, because you have this purpose on a higher mission, right? And doesn't mean you're better than anybody. It's just God chose you. You were one of the chosen ones that God chose to separate and not be around anybody, and if you have to eat alone, you have to eat alone. If you have to travel alone, you're going to have to travel alone. Like, You just, you gotta, you gotta understand yourself, and you gotta explore, and even if you do it by yourself, because a lot of times too, also, people that travel a lot, they travel, and a lot of times their friends might not have money. I see that a lot, where they're like, I just went by myself, because if I ask my friends, they don't have money to go to France. They don't have money to go to Greece. They don't have money to go to Africa or Mexico or anything like that. So I just go by myself, you know. And I think that's the best thing. That's very Aries, right? That's the best thing we should do. Either that or just stay home. I mean, I'm not going to stay home. So I rather just explore by myself and, you know, get to see the world, or get to see, explore, just understand, get educated with the world. And that's what traveling does. So there's this fortune with being Aries like, okay? Of not being codependent. If you don't have a friend, you're not going to go eat. You're not going to go shopping by yourself. You're not going to, like, screw that. Or you're not going to open that business because you don't have a partner to open it with. Screw it. Just do it your own, right? And then start building teams and so forth, um, in your business. Another thing too is, so this is why it's opposing. As we let go, we come into our fortune in Aries. So that's why it's very important that you let go, because it's asking you, do you want to be in fortune? And it says yes. Okay, so what do? You let go. That's it. That's all you do. You just let go. You let go of this full moon. It's already there. The alignment, the frequency is already there, telling you to let go. All you got to do is let go. Why are you not doing that? Right? And when you do that, you're going to enter fortune with Aries. Okay. Also, what the moon is doing is, it is squaring Jupiter. Okay. It is squaring Jupiter in Cancer at 15 degrees of communication. So that is interesting. It could be like this overindulgence in communication. I know I did. Um, all of yesterday, I just got very vocal, like I was not doing the podcast, but I was doing a lot of tweets. Um, and about things that need to be talked about. It's just, sometimes it's not good to hold it in, you know? And yeah, it could be a little bit family drama and stuff like that, which I'm not surprised, because where's Jupiter in Cancer? Cancer rules what? Families, right? And I don't do it so people could talk about my family, because I don't like that. Okay. I don't like when people, no. Um, but sometimes you just want to express yourself, you're just upset, or you don't have to say everything, because then it becomes a reality show, right? We don't want that. Um, but yeah, so there's something with this moon that squared Jupiter in the 10th house. That's where Jupiter in Cancer is. Elevation. This has to do with public participation. And the motto there is, I relate with the world. So with Jupiter in Cancer, is about relating to the world, okay? It governs your profession, career, status, reputation, how you stand out in the community and society, okay? It rules status and fame, achieving recognition, ambition, promotions, the carrying out of responsibilities. Okay, so the 10th house is a very serious house. It's a very masculine house. It's where you get your applause. I don't have the thing to, but it's where you get your applause, you get your rewards, you get your, your honors, your Purple Heart, whatever it is. And it's in Jupiter, which has to do with expansion, right? And it's in the challenge here with the moon in the 12th house of letting go. Okay, so if you want to be in the 10th house in Jupiter, you got to let go of that full moon. You got to let go of what is holding you back. Maybe if I used to do a lot of, I was trying to control myself, I'm not going to lie. When I was like shopping, not that I have like a lot of money like that, you know what I mean? But I'm trying to save money. I'm trying to, I'm not trying to spend a lot of money. But I am spending in things that I need for my business. Things that make me feel good as well. Not just that. I bought me an ice cream at Handels. They make homemade ice cream, and it just tastes so good. And I do things. It's not just all about work. You got to reward yourself, right? And that's what Jupiter Cancer says, reward yourself, right? But you do have to let go of any maybe addictions, because the 12th house rules addictions as well. So what are you addicted to? Are you addicted to shopping? That could be an addiction as well, right? Addicted to always be shopping a lot, or just kind of, pull back a little bit and not shop too much and just shop in the necessity. And that's what I'm doing now. Now when I shop, it's like, do I need this? No. If I don't need this, I'm not going to buy it. Is this quality? Yes, it is. Okay, then that goes in the cart. It's something that's gonna be quality, right? And that's what I'm doing now. you know and so there's this, it is also asking for, in my case, because I have the 6,000 Libra, it's like, if you don't spend quality, then how do you expect to elevate, right? With Jupiter in Cancer in the 10th house of recognition. So it's time to bring changes into my life. For you, it's going to be different, especially for Libras. For Libras, is how we perceive them, how we see them, of being people pleasers, or being too nice. The nice girl era is over. Okay. She's over. And now, if you want to be recognized, okay, if you want to be applauded, right? There's something about family. There's something about communication that needs to be done. Okay. And where Jupiter is, it's interesting that it's coming together with Israel, the asteroid of Israel, in the 10th house. Okay. So it doesn't have to be Israel. It just means that it could be religious factors that have the ability to recognize you with Jupiter in Cancer, that have the ability to applaud you, that have the ability to give you opportunities for you to elevate, right? And this could be God. Okay, it doesn't have, it could be Christianity. It could be your faith in God. Screw the churches and everything else. Of course it matters, but a lot of them are corrupt, but I'm talking about a relationship with God. What you do in your room when you open the Bible. And it's so interesting, because I did a ritual with the Bible. I learned of a ritual, and I did it for 7 days, and it actually ended on the full moon in Libra. And I know that it did work, because I heard a lot of downloads that I can't say. I can't repeat those downloads, but it was something between me and God. Okay. And it had to do with the Bible. And I did it every day for 7 days. And it's over now. I'm like, oh, thank God, because it was taking a lot of time to kind of do it in the morning and at night, in the morning and at night. And I know something came out of that. Okay. So that's that Jupiter with Israel together, coming together, in the house of elevation. So we'll see what happens. That's why I say I just give it to God. I only could do so much, when it comes to my life. Another thing too here, that the moon, so there might be something like that. Maybe there's a commitment with God. Maybe you're going to get baptized. Maybe you promised something to God, or you wrote a letter to God, of, what you're willing to do for God, and so forth. Let's see here. There's another square here. This is, let me see here. Hang on. We have Capricorn here. Wherever you have Capricorn is challenging it as well. So it is squaring the MC, okay, which is your career, and so forth. I feel a lot of it has to do with your relationship with God, because it's squaring Jupiter with Israel on there, okay? And then it's squaring your career, your midheaven status and career at the very top 10th house. Also, it's squaring Pholus, and Pholus is that asteroid in the sign of Capricorn that has to do with business. It has to do with transformation. It has to do with big billionaires. It's challenging their business, okay? Let's see. The moon is also squaring Moni. This asteroid has to do with a lot of money. Okay. And so it's how you make money, and so forth. Extra money coming in, extra opportunities coming in. and it is squaring Christian, this asteroid of Christianity. Okay, so not only does it square Christian, but it also squares Israel. And so there's something that is going on here with beliefs, with God, with commitment. How committed have you been with God? Are you a fake Christian? Are you not a fake Christian? Things like that. Your commit. It matters to God how committed you are to Him, how loyal you are to Him. And the moon is opposing the lot of fortune as well, and Cupido is squaring Cupido, which has to do with love and so forth. So I feel that before it's kind of like everything being destroyed. It kind of reminds me of the 9/11. Everything had to be destroyed, and hit rock bottom, and ashes were in the ground in order to rebuild, right? But anything that was happening, it was just not working out, so it had to crumble down. It had to come down like a tower moment in order for a rebuilding to happen. And so I feel that a lot of these transits that are going on, as I look at the wheel, is like nothing's good with the moon. The part of fortune is opposing it. Jupiter is squaring it. The lot of fortune is squaring it. I mean, everything that has to do with finances is crumbling down. What's happening to the stock market is crumbling down. I think we're getting ready for, it might be, the, what is it, NDVO? New World Order? I don't know. It could be something like that. I don't know if that's going to happen or not, but it could be something to do with money. It always happens when something goes down. Like in 2008, the real estate bubble burst and it had to come down. A lot of people lost jobs. A lot of people were applying for unemployment. A lot of people didn't have money. They lost all their jobs. What's happening right now? The AI is replacing a lot of jobs right now, right? But there is a lot of this money in this money sector that's crumbling down with this full moon in Libra. Okay? And we got to do a reset and initiation time with Aries. That's where the fortune's at, right? That is where the fortune's at. So it is about, for me, what I believe this is having to let go of your old life, and start over with leadership abilities, with courage, with valor, okay, with initiation of, you want that? Well, show me that you want it, right? Not in like, well, let me see, I need to make a phone call, and then and my neighbor's car just started, his road racer. And so it's not like, well, let me see if I can, let me call you back. Like, no, I want an answer right now, and it is that kind of energy that we're having here. But right now, a lot of us are releasing things that we need to release. It's not going to take 1 day. It's not going to take 2 days. It's not going to take 3 days, And so, it's interesting what's happening here. It's just having to let go of maybe addictions, maybe your health, and you have not been working on your health. Maybe you have to start going back to the gym. Maybe you have to start eating more healthy, doing a regimen with eating healthier or something, because the 12th house has to do with just release, loss, and we just have, we can't do the same thing we were doing. We got to do something brand new. Okay, what we were doing is not working anymore. So what is a new thing that you're doing now, right? And focus on doing that, because where the part of fortune is with the sun in Aries at 12 degrees. And we got Saturn at 5 degrees. It moved already now to 5 degrees. So we got Saturn in Aries with the part of fortune and the sun. There's a lot of illumination there compared to the full moon in Libra, where we have to let go, right? And another thing that I'm picking up too is this could be like medicine, hospital stays, and all of that. Like all of that, there's going to be a major transformation in that. It could be like you were in the hospital, tied up to some tubes and in a coma, and you get out of it, right? Because where the sun is being illuminated is in Aries with fortune and with Saturn that has to do with strength, right? Your body was able to be strong, especially at 5 degrees of Leo. Okay, so 5 degrees of Leo is about the heart. Maybe the heart started pumping some blood in there, and all of a sudden, oh my God, they're off the coma, right? And there was something that had to be released, and now you have a new heart. Maybe now you're going to be more compassionate towards people, you know. That could be an example, because I'm seeing good stuff with Aries, okay? With taking action and being a leader and building community, because it's in the sixth house where Aries is at, where the fortune is, where the sun is, where Saturn is in the sixth house of your local community. Stepping up as a leader, doing the right thing when nobody's watching, right? And it opposes Libra over here, because Libra, well, was not a leader. She got replaced by an Aries, right? Just an example. Just an example. It's just something that's just coming up to me. So anyway, I'm going to end it here. So I just wanted to end it with, you know, this Libra full moon is very important because it's a cardinal sign. So it's going to impact Capricorns. It's going to impact Cancers. Okay. So Libra, Aries, Cancer, and Capricorn, they're all cardinal signs. Okay. And they're all leadership signs. That's what cardinals are. They're leaders. Okay. But certain leaders lead a certain way, and other leaders lead another way. Okay. And we just got to know that there can be favoritism. We got to be for the collective. We got to be there for everybody. Okay. Because it's not corporations that make brands. It's who? People. Okay. So as I leave here in the episode, I hope that you guys are having a great day, and you know, and work out whatever you have to release, whatever you have to let go. And if you like the episode, like it, share it, tell your friends. We're just starting out here in Podbean, and I want to continue doing more podcasts here. And I will be heading out and doing the Spanish one, and maybe sometime later today. And I'm glad that I just had this window open right now for me to do this podcast, and that's something also that I'm working on. Okay, of having to strategize, having to have a strategy and so forth towards freedom, because that's where we're heading towards. Okay, so have a good day, and I will talk to you guys soon.